Every 4 years, billions of people tune in to watch the World Cup. For most of us, it's just about soccer. Goals, the atmosphere, unforgettable moments. But when the World Cup rolls around, something completely different always comes to my mind. Money. Because while the rest of the world watches what's happening on the field, I always wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Who is really making money from this event? The 2026 FIFA World Cup is set to be the biggest tournament in history. 48 teams, 104 matches, a total of 16 host cities across the US, Canada, and Mexico. And according to FIFA's economic projections, this event could generate an economic impact of approximately $40.9 billion for the North American economy. $40.9 billion. That figure is even larger than the total economic output of many countries in a single year. It's a pretty impressive number. At first glance, the story seems pretty simple. Millions of tourists are coming. Hotels fill up. Restaurants serve more customers. Airlines sell more tickets. Host cities become the focus of the world's attention. Looking at all this, one naturally thinks, this event is definitely an economic goldmine. And to be honest, a significant part of that is actually true. Many businesses will generate significant revenue from this tournament. Hotels, restaurants, transportation companies, retail stores, the entertainment industry. Many of them will likely experience their busiest period in years. But as I began my research, something interesting caught my attention. Economists aren't actually debating whether the World Cup generates economic activity. Almost everyone agrees that this is already happening. The real debate is about something entirely different. How much of this activity is sustainable? Because economic activity and long-term economic growth are not the same thing. A city can be overflowing with tourists for a month. Businesses can see record sales. Hotels can be completely booked. But after the final whistle blows, what happens? This is exactly the question economists have been trying to answer for years. And the interesting thing is, even today there is no clear answer to this question. Some studies suggest that such events support tourism for many years, boost a city's international profile, and attract new investments. Other studies, however, argue that the majority of the economic impact disappears shortly after the tournament ends. And that, in my opinion, is what makes the 2026 World Cup so interesting. Because the United States is in a very different position compared to previous hosts. In the past, many countries built new stadiums. They expanded their airports. They built new roads. They spent billions of dollars on public transportation systems. We see, however, that the U.S. already has most of these in place. The stadiums are ready. The airports are ready. The highways are ready. The hotels are already in operation. This significantly reduces the cost of the event. In other words, the U.S. is starting this tournament with a significant advantage. Less infrastructure investment, lower costs, and perhaps higher economic efficiency. But at this very point, another question comes to mind. If there are billions of dollars in revenue on the table, who gets the lion's share of that money? Hotels profit, restaurants profit, airlines profit, host cities generate tax revenue. But FIFA profits too. In fact, quite a substantial amount. Broadcasting rights, global sponsorship deals, licensing revenue, VIP packages, ticket sales. According to the latest estimates, while FIFA is poised to generate one of the highest revenues in its history, some host cities will be forced to incur significant expenses due to security, transportation, and organizational costs. And this is exactly where the story begins to shift a bit. Perhaps the World Cup isn't just a single economic success story. Perhaps it's thousands of different economic stories unfolding simultaneously. Some businesses will experience the best month of their lives. Some cities will reap major long-term benefits in terms of tourism. Others, however, will face costs far higher than they anticipated. So, will the 2026 World Cup boost the U.S. economy? I think so. At least in the short term, tourism will increase. Many sectors will see a boost. Cities will be showcased to the world. But will it make America permanently wealthier? That's a much tougher question. And when we look at the economic debates that have been going on for years, we see that there's still no definitive answer. Perhaps that's exactly what makes the World Cup so fascinating. Because behind a 90-minute soccer match, there's a global economy worth billions of dollars at work. And sometimes, the biggest competition doesn't take place on the field. It takes place on the balance sheets. If you enjoy this kind of content and don't see the economy as just headlines, you can subscribe to the EcoVantage report. See you in the next video.